How's it going, guys? I'm Theo Joe, and it's been about 6 months since I last made a new SCAMS video, so this one's going to be an updated version for the middle of 2020. It's now July. So for this video, I've got 5 new frauds and scams that you definitely want to watch out for, or at least be aware of, so you don't fall victim to them. And no surprise, a lot of these do have to do in some way with the coronavirus, but not all of them exactly. So first up, we have one that most of you are not going to have to directly worry about, but if you do own a business, then possibly. Basically, there's this random company, which ended up being like one person running the company, created these laminated cards that claim that the holder is exempt from having to wear a mask, even if it's required by your state law, and basically gives the reason that wearing a mask is a detriment to their health, either mental or physical, and this card says that and has some laws cited. It has the Department of Justice seal on it to make it look all official, and it suggests if a business owner still requires that person to wear a mask after showing this exempt card, that they can be subject to fines from the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Department of Justice, stuff like that. Even though it's complete nonsense, there's no exemption cards. The Department of Justice obviously has said that this is fraudulently labeling it with their seal, and this organization is pretty much just made up. I mean, it might be a real thing, but I don't even know if it's registered as a real company. It's just some random website someone made. So there might be copycats. It might not look exactly like this, I imagine. Probably people will make up their own fake cards saying you're exempt, but watch out for these. There are no actual exemption cards. So if you see someone with something similar, just know that they're full of hot air. All right, next up, number 2. This one was actually kind of surprising. The FBI is reporting that there are fake COVID-19 antibody tests going around, and they imply that there's actual physical fake tests being sold. So you might see an advertisement and actually pay for one of these tests, get it, and it's from some random website that is not affiliated or approved by the FDA at all, and then you get the test and it might just give a random result or some predetermined fake result, and you didn't get tested at all. And I believe they present themselves as one of those home tests, so it's not one you mail back or anything like that. It's one where you maybe do a blood prick or something and put it into like a testing case thing, and then it gives you a fake result, basically. That's from my understanding based on what the report says. But there are apparently other types of fake advertisements where they don't even send you the test at all. They either take your money and they don't send it out, or they advertise it as a free test and then collect all the required information, which happens to have your social security number, and I guess not your payment info because they're claiming it would be free, but anything you do provide to them is just stolen, and then of course they don't send you any test. So basically just be extremely suspicious if you see any advertisements like on Facebook or anywhere really for a at-home test, especially if it's saying, oh, it's free. Now, there are legitimate antibody tests out there, obviously. I don't know if there are any that are at home exactly, but you can go on the FDA's website. They should have a list of all the approved ones. And I know there are legitimate companies like Abbott Labs and also LabCorp that do have at-home tests. I don't know for antibodies, but they have ones for active infections, and then you mail it back. So just make sure you actually do your research on what website you're buying it from. So just make sure it's FDA approved on the FDA website, and I would be doing research on these tests anyway myself because there are several out there. Some of them may be more accurate than others. So just look things up before you put any information now that you know that there are actual fake ones out there. All right, moving on to number 3, we have fake contact tracers. Now, you may know in your country or in the US, different states have their health boards doing contact tracing, where if you get a positive coronavirus test, they may reach out to you and ask you who you've had contact with over a certain amount of time, stuff like that, just to try and alert other people that they may have been exposed to someone who had the coronavirus. There are legitimate cases of this happening. This is what they do. But apparently, scammers are sending out fake texts, robocalls that are saying, oh, you've been exposed, go to this link to sign up, stuff like that, and then it ends up being something like a phishing link, or they require payment, something like that. So there's one specific example a news site was reporting on. It's a text message. It says, someone who came in contact with you tested positive or has shown symptoms for COVID-19 and recommends you self-isolate/get tested. And then there's a link there, and it is a phishing link. So to be able to spot the fake ones, the FTC basically says that any real contact tracers are not going to have you download anything. They're not going to have you click any links or anything like that. They're going to probably call you. They also said that legitimate contact tracers may send you a text message, but it will only be to tell you that you will be getting a call soon. So it's not like you have to do everything over the internet met ever. They also say that obviously a contact tracer that's legitimate will never ask you for any highly personal information like social security number or financial info. They may require basic information like your name and stuff like that, but they'll never require payment because this is a thing run by the state and it's all taxpayer funded. So anyway, moving on to number 4, we have fake stimulus checks of various kinds. I think I might have talked about this in a previous video talking about coronavirus specific scams, but there have been more that have apparently popped up. One example that might not have been super obvious if you didn't know about it is there was this car dealership that was having a sale and they basically tricked people into thinking it was some kind of stimulus government program. So they sent out these mailers and it was called something like the Economic Automotive Stimulus Relief Program, and it was completely fake. They made the mailer look like it was sponsored by the government in some way and that this was part of the government stimulus, even though it was basically just a sale. And I believe in this case the FTC did sanction them because it was so deceptive and misinformation that they got fined or something like that. There's another scam email going around that claims that you're eligible to get money from some coronavirus relief fund called the Global Empowerment Fund. That's completely made up. If you go to the information or the link on the email, it's just a phishing email and they steal your information and all that. Finally, for number 5, we have fraudulent unemployment claims. So obviously with unemployment being so high, a lot of scammers have taken advantage of this, trying to slip through the cracks and basically file for unemployment fraudulently for people who have not lost their job at all. If this does happen to you, then you may get a notice from your state or local government's unemployment office saying that you filed for unemployment, and if you did not do that, then you need to contact them and obviously tell them that your identity was stolen, and that also may mean that you should probably freeze your credit, stuff like that, because they obviously have your social security number. And how it works apparently is they'll file for unemployment and then have the payments go into the scammer's bank account. So you don't even get any notice about this unless the government sends you something, and then you really want to be quick because by that time they may have already gotten payments. So if you've previously been a victim of identity theft, this is definitely one to keep an eye out on because someone may already have all your social security info, and I don't know if there's any way you can really freeze anything like that like you can a bank account, so just be aware of it. So those are the 5 that I wanted to talk about. If you want to keep up to date on these, the FTC does have a great page where they usually post new scams and stuff that you can look at, maybe you can bookmark it, whatever, look at every few weeks, and they post new scams that people are doing. I'll put a lot of the links in the description, for example, that link to the FTC, also one for the FDA that has a list of actual real tests for antibodies, stuff like that, so you can look down there. Now, if you want to keep watching, the next video I'd recommend is the video I made at the beginning of the year talking about new scams, because those have not stopped, certainly, so you can click on that video right there if you want. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.